Hello, this is PiTV Arts. I'm Nadira and we're here today in the Victoria and Albert Museum. Today we're going to have a look at the Light of the Middle East exhibition, the V&A's biggest modern photography exhibition featuring Middle Eastern artists. PiTV managed to get an interview with Marta Weiss, the lead curator for the exhibition.
Light from the Middle East New Photography is the first major museum exhibition of contemporary Middle Eastern photography, and we take a very broad geographic definition of the Middle East. So it spans from North Africa to Central Asia. And the exhibition is organized into three sections: recording, reframing, and resisting. And each of those terms refers to how the medium of photography is being used by the artists gathered in that particular section. So in recording, we have artists who are using the camera in the most kind of straightforward way to document or record events that may be real situations they encounter or things they maybe set up in front of the camera in order to photograph, but they're using the camera in the most straightforward way possible. In reframing, we have artists who are looking to images of the past usually and tweaking them in some way, putting a twist on them, updating them. So reframing historic photographs or recreating pre-existing types of images. And then finally in resisting, we have photographers who are really questioning what photography is and can be, and in that in making those inquiries, they're almost sort of rebelling against the medium by scratching their negatives or burning them or digitally manipulating them. This is a work by a young Iranian artist, Amrani, and it's called Venkanna. It takes place in a zurkhana, which is a traditional Iranian bodybuilding and wrestling gym that has spiritual significance as well as being a kind of form of physical activity. And it's a place that traditionally women aren't allowed to enter. But Atashi is a woman photographer, and not only did she gain access to this space in order to photograph it, but she makes sure that we know she was there by including her reflection in the photograph. So this is the photograph that leads off the first section of the exhibition, recording, because it really is a photograph about the process of making a photograph. We're standing here in front of the work of Joanna Hajitoma and Khalil Jourej. They're a Lebanese couple who work together as artists and filmmakers. And the name of this work is Wonder Beirut. These are three photographs from a series called Wonder Beirut. And we're in the resisting section. These works were inspired by the fact that the artist noticed after the Lebanese Civil War, which had lasted from 1975 to 1990, that you could buy the same postcards that you could have bought before the war. So you could buy a postcard of a building that no longer existed because it had been blown up during the war. And so for this piece, they actually created a character, a fictional photographer, who had been commissioned to make these works. So this fictional photographer was commissioned by the tourist board to photograph Beirut as a tourist destination in the late 1960s. And then when the war began, he retreated into his archive and he began to systematically burn his negatives to reflect the destruction going on around him. And then finally, the archive of burnt negatives was discovered by the artists, who then made these prints of them. So all of that is completely a fiction, but it's a really great example of artists who are engaging with photography's kind of power as both a medium that on the one hand can seem to give evidence or support certain versions of history, but on the other hand can also be used in support of fictional storytelling. So this is a piece by a Palestinian artist named Taiser Batnici, and it's in the reframing section. And the reason I've included in this section is because it's making reference to the work of the German photographers Bert and Hille Becher. So the Beschers are very well-known 20th century photographers, extremely influential, and they're best known for their photographs of industrial architecture, So they photographed things like blast furnaces and factories and water towers, and they photographed them in a very meticulous way and then arranged them like this in a grid. Now, Batniji saw an exhibition of the Becher's work in Paris at the Centre Pompidou and was inspired by that to make a similar typology in the West Bank of Israeli military watchtowers. And one of the things that's so interesting about this work is that, you know, at first glance, anybody familiar with the Becher's work, maybe, you know, if they saw this out of the corner of their eye as they walk into the gallery, they might mistake it for the work of the Becher's. But you look at it more closely and you realize it's not only because it's watchtowers in the West Bank as opposed to industrial architecture in Germany that makes you realize it's not by the Becher's, but actually the photographs themselves don't have any of the meticulous precision that the Becher's use. So, for instance, the background, the sky, is very dark in one image and very light in another. Some of them are quite grainy, other ones are even blurry. So these are photographs that are just grabbed on the go, and part of the point of the whole work is to demonstrate that this is not a political circumstance that's conducive to sort of aesthetic perfection.
With a major exhibition like this, the Light of the Middle East, and exhibitions such as the Edge of Arabia, do you find that this exposure is deconstructing Western stereotypes of the Middle East?
Well, I think that the artists themselves, or some of the artists themselves, are deconstructing Western stereotypes, and so that comes up in some of the works in this exhibition. I also hope that people coming to this exhibition will come away seeing that that photography in the Middle East and contemporary practice in the Middle East is extremely is varied and also extremely creative, and that perhaps they'll come away with imagery of the Middle East that is not what they expect, because it doesn't play into what we see on our screens all the time.
Do you have any advice for young artists, or photographers, or even young curators, how to get into the industry, or what they should do with their work?
Well, actually, I suppose I have advice maybe for both art historians and photographers. I think one of the most important things is just to look, and to, you know, go to as many exhibitions as you can, look at photography books, art books, and you can come to the V&A and use our prints and drawing study room, which is open to the public. It's an amazing resource where you don't even need an appointment, and you can come and ask to see any of our photographs that aren't on display at the moment. So you just come in and say, "May I see your Robert Franks, please?" And we bring you a box of Robert Frank photographs, and you can look at them close up. And I think really just training your eye and educating your eye is a really important thing for both art historians and practicing artists.
The exhibition is free and is open until April. Check out more PI exhibitor coverage online on PiTV Arts.